What's up everyone, it's me Pratima. So last year Xiaomi did the unthinkable. It made Android tablets exciting again. The Xiaomi Pad 5 was an easy recommendation for anyone looking for a solid Android tablet that gets all the basics right. Now, a year later, Xiaomi has followed it up with the Pad 6 and it brings a bunch of small but notable upgrades across the board, including a premium build quality, a sharper display, and a more powerful processor. But more importantly, these upgrades don't come with a price jump either, since the Xiaomi Pad 6 still starts at 27,000 Indian rupees only, just like the Pad 5. Okay, so let me start the review with the software side of things. Now, as you guys might know, that I recently published my review of the OnePlus Pad, where I said that I was a little underwhelmed with its software experience. But after testing the Xiaomi Pad 6 for almost 2 weeks now, what I can say is that it is quite the breath of fresh air. It's almost as if Xiaomi carefully studied where OnePlus struggled with its software and managed to avoid those pitfalls altogether. This dock, for example, is persistent across the UI on the Pad 6 compared to how the OnePlus Pad lets you access it from the home screen only. As a result, I can easily access my favorite apps to open them in a floating window or in a split screen mode with a simple swipe up from anywhere I want. It's so easy. And that irritating keyboard bug I mentioned in my OnePlus Pad review is also non-existent on the Xiaomi Pad 6. Both Gboard and Microsoft Swift key seamlessly split across the sides for an easier typing experience, be it in portrait or landscape orientation. I'm also happy to see that Facebook has no trouble running in landscape mode on the Xiaomi Pad 6 either. Instagram still sticks out like a sore thumb, and I wouldn't exactly call this layout optimized or anything, but at least it works. Okay, an interesting new feature on the Xiaomi Pad 6 is something called Smartphone Link, which lets you wirelessly duplicate your phone's display on the tablet. But unfortunately, it only works on the Xiaomi 13 Pro at the moment. I really don't think Xiaomi should be limiting such useful things to premium phones, so hopefully the company has plans to bring this feature to its non-flagship devices as well. Okay, apart from this, there are a few UI choices I am not particularly fond of here. Like when triggering the split screen menu, for instance, you need to drag the app all the way to the corner of the screen, or else it just opens the app in full screen. Likewise, a handy sidebar to store different shortcuts or app is still missing on Xiaomi tablets. Anyway, talking about the raw performance, compared to last year's Mi Pad 5, you get a much powerful Snapdragon 870 chip in here. And the thing I immediately noticed when I first started using the Xiaomi Pad 6 is that it actually felt more responsive. This is because Xiaomi has notably toned down the system animation scaling across the UI, and I've got to admit that's a pretty genius move. Other than this, things like browsing the web, typing up emails, watching movies, or playing games is no problem for this guy. It does have a somewhat strict memory management technique to save power, but that's easily fixable by changing a few settings. As for gaming, with the Snapdragon 870 chip and up to 8GB RAM, it's really no surprise when I say that this tablet can handle most of the games pretty well. Like PUBG Mobile at a smooth 60 FPS under HDR graphics and extreme frame rates, or even Genshin Impact at high graphics and 60 FPS. Injustice 2 can also hit 120 plus FPS at times, even though it mostly comes down to around 100 FPS on average. But despite the decent gaming performance, the Xiaomi Pad 6 gets quite warm under heavy kind of load. And also another thing I did not like is that Xiaomi is not committing to any number of software updates on this thing either. Now, most other news outlets say that it will be getting 3 years of security updates, but an official confirmation would actually have been nicer. Anyway, the Xiaomi Pad 6 gets some love in terms of the build quality too. I honestly did not mind the plastic back on the Xiaomi Pad 5 that much, so this jump to a more premium aluminium back with a matte finish no less is a welcome upgrade. What's even more impressive is that despite the use of metal, the Xiaomi Pad 6 is actually lighter than its predecessor. It's also pretty thin, and Xiaomi has also tried to rub off a sort of premium look from the Xiaomi 13 lineup of flagship phones with this camera block. If only Xiaomi had gone with a curved finish for a more comfortable hands-on feel, the Pad 6 would have been a solid A+ in my books as far as the design and build quality are concerned. Oh, and I almost forgot, its USB-C port now has a USB 3.2 standard too, instead of the older USB 3.2 like on the OnePlus Pad. That means the Xiaomi Pad 6 can connect up to a 4K 60Hz external display, and it also has much faster file transfer speeds. Although you will need a separate USB 3.2 compatible cable for all this to work, because the USB-A to USB-C data cable that you get inside the box itself is USB 2.0 only. Okay, this 11 inches display on the Xiaomi Pad 6 is also quite good for the price. It's slightly sharper now, slightly smoother, and also slightly brighter. Xiaomi is still sticking to a 16:10 aspect ratio that's better suited for watching videos, and I love it. Compared to something like the OnePlus Pad or the iPad Pro that have a squarish display, you don't need to deal with distracting black bars nearly as much when binging anything here. Obviously, the squarish aspect ratios shine in its own way, like it's better for reading and multitasking and stuff like that, but overall you can learn to live with either of them perfectly fine. Now, when it comes to the core quality of the display itself, I don't have many complaints actually. The default original color Pro profile looks absolutely amazing to my eyes, with just the right balance of saturation, contrast levels, and color temperature. Don't worry, if you prefer a bit punchier and a more vibrant color profile, you can also go with the vivid and saturated presets, or even customize anything including RGB coverage, hue, saturation, contrast, and gamma levels. I'm also enjoying this 144Hz refresh rate experience on the Xiaomi Pad 6. However, it's not as consistent and polished as I'd like it to be. For example, when leaving it at the default option that dynamically switches between different refresh rates to save power, it does not hit 144Hz on any apps or games except Injustice 2. And even when explicitly setting it to 144Hz, I don't know what's happening, but it sometimes goes 144Hz while clinging to 120Hz most of the time. That reminds me, my Xiaomi Pad 6 is also struggling with HDR playback. It does have Dolby Vision and HDR10 certification, but only HDR playback is available on Netflix. Plus, for some reason, when I play HDR videos on Netflix, here everything looks way too pale and washed out. It's the same thing with my local HDR videos, although the ones with Dolby Vision play perfectly fine. I remember that last year's Xiaomi Pad 5 had no trouble with Dolby Vision and HDR playback at all, but right now it has the same problem as the Xiaomi Pad 6. So I hope Xiaomi is working on a fix as we speak, because for devices geared towards media consumption, this is a pretty big deal. The quad speakers here are quite nice though, while it's not as loud or detailed as the OnePlus Pad, but this guy sounds perfectly fine for listening to music or watching movies and shows. Xiaomi has especially tuned it with boosted trebles, so that's what you're gonna hear most of the time, but there's an option to set a custom equalizer as well. For attending video conferences or taking occasional selfies, the Xiaomi Pad 6 brings an 8-megapixel sensor on the front, just like last time. However, it's now placed horizontally instead of in portrait layout, which makes all the difference in the world. Xiaomi's center stage clone called Focus Frame also works in most apps like Zoom, Google Meet, WhatsApp, and even Messenger. Whereas the 13-megapixel camera at the back is fine for taking pictures of notes and stuff, but nothing more. Finally, the Xiaomi Pad 6 gets a marginally larger battery as well. So in my typical kind of usage pattern, I was getting roughly 8 hours of screen on time, which is still impressive stuff. I also like how Xiaomi ships a proper 33-watt charger this time, while we only got a 22.5 power brick on the Xiaomi Pad 5. So overall, it's pretty needless to say that Xiaomi has once again delivered a stunning value for money tablet with the Xiaomi Pad 6. With the same aggressive pricing strategy, it is an absolute no-brainer to anyone looking for a solid Android tablet that excels at all the basics. And after using this alongside the OnePlus Pad, I also really don't think you should be spending almost 50% more on the OnePlus Pad. Xiaomi has even managed to price its accessories like keyboard and stylus cheaper compared to OnePlus, which is fantastic. Plus, this second-gen Xiaomi Smart Pen is really good, like really good. The input latency is almost unnoticeable, and I like how it has dedicated buttons with a bunch of built-in shortcuts to help with your workflow. It would have been better if there was also some way to edit their actions, but I don't mind that actually. So yeah, the Xiaomi Pad 6 is yet another slam dunk, and it sets the standard for just how good mid-range Android tablets can get in 2023. Okay everyone, so that was my full review of the Xiaomi Pad 6. Just to let you know, this review sample was provided to us by Xiaomi India, and after the review is finished, the product will be returned to Xiaomi itself, and there has been no editorial input from anybody except for Gadget Bytes team itself. Saying this, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back with the next one. See you soon.